Hello basketball coaches and basketball players, my name is Alan from Al's Basketball Training, and today I'm going to talk to you about some motion basketball plays that you can use against a box and one zone defense. Now, I am foreseeing, I don't usually say I see the future, but I am foreseeing that over the next year or so, we're going to see a lot of youth basketball teams running the box and one, mainly because the Toronto Raptors were successful using that defense and winning an NBA championship. So, these are some motion offenses that you can use against the box and one zone if you end up playing against this zone and you want to be able to score against it. Obviously, you want to score against it, but let's get down to the clipboard and let's check these out. So the first play I'm going to show you is the 5-out motion offense. I'm going to show you why this is very effective. First off, you're spreading the court. So now these players are going to want to go out and defend these wing perimeter players. Meanwhile, they're supposed to be really just protecting the key. And as we see here, I have player 1 being guarded by player 1, mainly because, generally speaking, the other team's best player at the younger levels is usually the player who dribbles the ball up the court. So what's going to happen? He's going to go and pass it out to player 2. That's going to bring player 3 out to somewhat guard him. That's also going to bring player 4 over and player 5 over to cover the middle of the key. What's going to happen now is player 1 will cut towards the rim. Now, if he's faster than his defender, what can happen here is he can get that ball. That's going to collapse the defense because they really do not want this guy to score. So we may have a three-point or mid-range shot open for player 3. Or we could have player 5 cutting baseline, where now you can send up the alley-oop or a nice bounce pass or kind of a pass around player 5 so that he can get a nice easy layup. Now, if that's not an option, let's say he was covered, what's going to happen now is player 4 is going to then cover the top, player 5 is going to cover player 4's spot, and player 1 is going to go out and clear out to that far side. Now what we can have is player 2 passing to player 4, and that's going to now collapse the top. And now we have player 4 cutting towards the rim. Now he could be open during that cut, and if he is, that's going to now draw in both of those players for player 3 or player 5 cutting on that weak side for a nice easy pass. So there's a couple of options there. But let's say that's not open. Let's say player 4 was able to cover that really well. That's going to now allow player 3 to pop up and player 2 to cover out, where player 3 may be open for that shot now. However, let's say player 3 gets over fast enough, or he could have also passed to player 5. That's an option too. It doesn't really matter. It's going to happen no matter which side this pass goes, and that's going to allow player 2 to pop out. And we're going to have player 4 cutting towards the rim. Now, with player 4 cutting towards the rim, if he's open, he can receive that pass in the key. And again, that's going to collapse the defense. And we're going to have weak side players who can cut towards the rim or be open for three-point or mid-range shots. So, the 5-out pass and cut is a very effective offense against the box and one. Now what we're going to have is the triangle motion offense. This is my personal favorite motion offense. The reason is because I like the triangle and it's a very effective motion offense. So what we're going to have is player 1 passing over to player 4, and we're going to have player 1 cut down to that low wing. Now what's going to happen, that's going to bring player 2 out to cover, and one of two things is going to happen. Now, because they're playing a box, we're going to be mixing up this motion offense just a bit. And how we are going to do that is player 3 is going to run up to the point, player 4 is going to pass to player 3. Now, normally what would happen is we would have player 2 move up. This would be a pass over to player 2, and player 3 would cut down. Player 5 would set a screen for one of these two players who would then cut and go down to this low post. Now, instead of that, and you can find that play, I'll try and remember to link it below. I have lots of videos on the triangle motion offense, and you can still really basically do this play. Now, because player 1 is covered, we are for sure running it for player 4. So player 2 is going to receive that pass, and player 3 is going to go down to this low post. That could bring player 4 up just a bit, and that's going to have player 5 covering the middle. Now what we want to see is having player 5 screening on this side instead of screening for this man because he's not moving through. We're going to have player 5 screening on this side, and player 4 is going to be cutting through. And personally, I want player 2 to pass to player 3 first because that's going to pull player 4 out, and that's going to allow us a clean pass to player 4 red in that low post, and player 4 is going to be able to hit that layup. If player 5 is able to set a strong enough screen, this is going to be a very easy shot for player 4. However, if that's not open, if player 5 was able to get through, what's going to happen now is player 5 is going to be moving out towards this free throw line extended, and he's going to be setting up a screen for player 1. Player 1 is going to receive that ball, and what we're going to have now is he could take that three-point shot. He could take also a mid-range shot. There's a couple of options there. But let's say player 1, blue, was able to fight through. What's going to happen now is we're going to have player 1 pass over to player 5. We're going to be having, instead, we're going to be having player 4. He can be setting a screen for either player 4, blue, on this side. Player 5 is already snuck past over to this side. And what can happen now is if player 1 can be fast enough, he could receive that pass, and that's going to allow player 5 and blue 1 as well to want to double team in this corner. Now because of that, we're going to have player 3 or player 2 cutting through, and because there's a double team, because that's how the box and 1 works, there should be a double team in that corner if the man who's the one man is out in that corner. We're going to have a very easy layup right here for player 3. Now, if he's a good enough passer, this is definitely a good swing to run for the triangle motion offense. Now, this next play is very good to run as well. Now, this is the 3-out, 2-in motion offense. And what we're going to have here is player 1 passing over to player 3, and that's going to bring player 2 out. Player 1 is going to go and screen away for player 2. Player 2 is going to be going to the point, and what we're going to have is player 4 also running up to the high post. The good, great, amazing thing about this is player 3 could pass to player 2 for the three-point shot, or we could get player 4 open for a mid-range shot. Now, with player 4 getting it in that high post area, what's going to happen is that could collapse player 5 and 4 over, or that could collapse player 5 and 2 together, and that would allow player 5 red to be open for a layup. Or if they're not fast enough, he can get that shot off, or he can pass back out to player 2, mainly because player 2 is not going to be really covered by player 3 blue because that's his zone, and most coaches who run the box and 1 do not want players to be outside or even within a foot of the three-point line. So now we can go and set up the motion offense once again. 5 is going to move over to that side, player 4 is going to move down, and now what we can have is, obviously player 1 is covered. We're going to go and pass over to player 3. We're going to have a screen over to player 1, and player 1 can now get open for a shot. However, personally, if he's smart, he can see that if he was to drive, being he is the one who is being guarded man on man, he could drive towards the middle, and that would 100% collapse those 2 players, which would allow you to have 2 players along the baseline open for a layup. However, if that's not the case, and he did not do that, and now he's covered again, what's going to happen now is he can go and pass to any one of these sides. Again, screen away. Player 4, because he's on the opposite side, he's going to go to that high post. Player 3 is going to use that screen. He can be open for a 3, and again, we can run this play through one more time. You can also run this play continuously, or you can switch up your motion offense, pull out player 5 and 4, and now you can run that 5-out motion offense. Very simple to transition, and if you don't have a shot clock, you can keep on running this through until you have a very good, or at least a high percentage shot that you can take. Now, I hope that these plays help your team win more games. If they do, let us know in the comments section below. And what did you think about the Toronto Raptors using the box and 1 zone defense? Let us know in the comments section below, and I'll see you guys again later on today.